Hello, good morning, evening, or whatever time zone you are watching this. This is a series of like informal conversation and chat around the very juicy topics of like harvesting, the art of harvesting, and we all know as practitioner of the art of hosting and harvesting conversations that matter. These all come in together. They are two complementary like pieces and forces that have to hold the container for change to happen. But a lot of people, you might be aware of what hosting is. You might having your own definition of what hosting is. But recently, I noticed that there's a lot of like fuzzy definition of what actually is harvesting, and we have different definition, different imaginations about what this practice is as well. So, in light of like exploring this with fellow petitioners and colleagues all around the world, I would love to ask two simple questions to whoever show up in my screen. What do you think? What for you is harvesting? And inviting people to share a recent story of how harvesting practice show up for them or their group. And so we have Sara with me. And Sara, you may want to introduce yourself a little bit and then maybe jump into what for you is your own definition or your own thinking or feeling about harvesting.
No, thank you, Nom. Yeah, I'm Sarah. I'm one of the hosts in the hosting team for the Art of Harvesting training this year, together with you and Mumsy. And I think also the reason why we three practitioners showed up for this training is just that we are also fascinated by this concept of harvesting. And I think in words, if we really look at harvesting, maybe some of the metaphor that comes to our mind is okay, farming, or what is it exactly? But for me, in the practice of the art of hosting and harvesting, harvesting is making visible what is in the room. And when we're talking, it's just words. And we listen, not always as attentive as we want to. So when we can practice the art and somehow making visible what there is at that moment in a way to feed the conversation further. And also what happens in the room is not the only thing. There are other people who might be involved. So how do you bring whatever is produced, but also emerged in a way that other people can relate to it? Practically, how do you use whatever is produced further to others who are not involved in that process, but can still contribute to it? So for me, harvesting has to do with wisdom, but I think most importantly, because it's the art of harvesting, it's a lot of intentional practicing of being aware of the different biases that are in the room, different limiting beliefs and worldviews, and creating that kind of space or canvas to let new things come through, just like the chaotic path for the innovation to come.
I love the definition. And I love the way that, in your definition invites a lot of like conscious practice. Looking at things that seem to be very visible on the surface, but actually there's a lot more thing under surface. And for me, it somehow is also distinguished between just mere information and data and the wisdom, the knowledge, and then the wisdom of the group. And it's not just stopping there of surfacing what is deeply invisible but matter to the group, but how to make it visible and also share it to the outer community and contributing and feeding forward to further action and further development of a group or a community or society. It actually gave me a bigger and more wholesome image of what harvesting is and why it matters as a practice. And to
Thank
kind
you.
of, yeah, to look into this definition, I think people also want to hear then what is a recent example that you have of this harvesting practice that have to make the invisible visible?
Oh, thank you. So recent example, a group of managers that have been talk about a policy of strategy for over 18 months. Rationally, it's very simple. Like we come together, we have different programs. What is our language? What is our scope? But somehow they could not agree. And one of the things that we harvest is after the check-in, I ask them to use the drawing together exercise from the liberating structure. One group is looking back and one group is looking forward and use the language of the drawings of how was that process for you. They had to interpret each other's drawings and then eventually come together. And what was very interesting was the group of looking forward were done within 5 minutes. But the group of looking back, they had to talk a lot because what they all wanted in a way was the same. But there were a lot of invisible things that made them stuck in a way. And eventually we ended the session with it's about really listening to what are the advantages of different positions and what are the things that really matters to us, and then to make that visible in words as well. What are the things that we need to take from all these different positions and what matters to us as the group? One final thing I'll add, during the check-in, I reflected back. I did a few interviews of what do you think matters for coming session, and I used different metaphors. All those metaphors created a condition for them to name the things that were really bothering them, not just on the rational level, but actually on the emotional level.
Well, I I feel like there's a also kind of really blurry line between like harvesting and hosting as your story unfolded. But what I particularly notice is this like conscious practice of like providing the means and the means for people to surface what actually is hard to see or sometimes unspoken and sometimes a lot of time going unnoticed. And a lot of things here are like people's feelings, how people are noticing different perspectives on what is getting stuck here. And it's not just about holding the container for that to be spoken out, but how are they being shown so that we can continue to look at that and making sense of what is going on together. So I feel like in that sense, like hosting and harvesting are woven so well together and helping a group to get unstuck. Maybe not still stuck, but having a deeper understanding of what is being stuck here and appreciating the the totality of what the situation is for them.
Mm. I love your reflection because indeed it's that having a deeper understanding and that living the blurry line is actually what is needed. Because if it was easy, we would have done it yesterday. But it is that intentional integration of the hosting and the harvesting, of the bringing people together and then having the deeper understanding and seeing the patterns all.
Mm, beautiful, Sarah. I feel like this is a good taste of what it is. And it's not just end there, but I feel like it's given me, including me listening to you, like further inquiry of what the art of harvesting that we're practicing together and what we all mean when we say we are practicing harvesting and what does it serve actually. And I hope that for in the future, we really want to hear your thoughts. We really want you to be a part of this conversation and let us know how you feel and even your own stories of harvesting in this video's comment section. So with that, thank you, Sarah. And I look forward to even having you with more follow-up conversation on this. and with other practitioners on this Zoom screen as well.
Yay!